Welcome to Connected Insights. I'm Dan Walker and I'm excited to be your host for this podcast. I'm here to talk about the Manx Telecom Group. Now, you'll know us as the island's leading infrastructure and telecoms provider, but I want to delve deeper into our group of companies. Today, I'm excited to introduce to you Scott Bradley, Head of Corporate Sales at MT Business Enterprise. Hi Scott, welcome to Connected Insights.
Hi Dan.
Now, what I'd like you to do first, take me back to the beginning, and not the glory days of Newcastle, but back to the start of Scott Bradley's career.
Be a long time for glory days in Newcastle, Dan. Okay, so in terms of where I've worked in the past,
Where you've come from and what brought you to where you are today.
So Newcastle is where I came from. So originally, from leaving college, from leaving university, I worked in the leisure sector. Very heavily involved in customer services, obviously, working in sports centres and old-fashioned swimming baths, if you will. So that's how I started out my career. But then I moved to the Isle of Man. So continued in a similar vein at the National Sports Centre here on the island. Before making a change, I wanted to do something a little bit different. Wanted to try and get into the private sector, and just working in and actually trying to improve my skills, because I'd always worked in one sector. I wanted to try something different. So initially, I worked in a recruitment company. Back in the early 2000s, gone back, nearly 20 years. And I worked there for 2 years as a sales consultant. Really enjoyed it. It was fantastic. Actually, it was fantastic for me because I got to meet lots of customers on the island and lots of C-suite people, which was wonderful. But after a couple of years, I got headhunted by a local IT managed services company, where I would come in, actually not in sales, but in operations. They were looking for someone who could manage people, and I'd been able to demonstrate that over time in the leisure industry side of things. So I worked in the IT side, delivering large contracts for the government and a lot of large industries on the island. Now, after about 10 years, that company made a big change, and I was headhunted by Manx Telecom, which is where I am today, of course. When I moved into MT, I started as an account manager, and I've worked my way through being an account manager to an account director, and currently head of sales.
And what is it about telecoms that specifically interested you into making that move?
Well, if I'm being perfectly honest, it wasn't really about the products or the services, about the people. So it's about the businesses. As I mentioned earlier, I really loved my job as a recruitment consultant, where I was engaging with businesses and clients on a day-to-day basis, and that's what I really enjoy the most. Now, obviously, once I stepped into IT managed services, I really enjoyed learning the products and really could see the connection between the businesses and the products themselves. And then exactly the same thing at Manx Telecom, of course. And one of the great things about MT is that it's so ingrained into the community. So it's not just about the day-to-day products and services that we provide for businesses, let's say, but actually you're really proud to work for Manx Telecom. So on a weekend when you bump into people, or if you're at an event, we get involved in so many different things. That's one of the things that I love about, not necessarily, so the question was around the telco and the IT side of things, but actually it's more about the company, I think, and the people and the businesses that we deal with.
So it sounds like throughout your career it's been very much customer focused, solutions focused, supporting businesses and enterprise. Give me an overview of what Manx Telecom Enterprise do.
Okay, lots. Where do you want me to start? So, and actually that's probably a very true reflection. So we do have a very, very wide portfolio of services. I think first and foremost, Manx Telecom Enterprise is a division of Manx Telecom Group. There are 4 different group entities, and we are obviously one of those. We deliver services to around about 3,500 business customers on the island, and we've got 20, 30 customers globally as well that use our data centers for various different reasons. So that kind of shows the scale of what we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. We are heavily investing in our infrastructure on the island. We're heavily investing in our data centers on the Isle of Man to make sure that we are always moving products forwards and not standing still or going backwards, which is the worst thing. And the intention of that, of course, is to ensure that our customers can meet their objectives and really get the outcomes that they're looking for. The kind of, let me give you a couple of examples of some products that we use. Okay, so if you think about the core products that we have, cloud and colo hosting. So we're very fortunate on the island. We've got 2 tier 3 data centers. Both of those data centers are very well established. The latter is 10 years old. The first one actually was built in the early 2000s and hasn't really missed a heartbeat since. So it's a true reflection on the investment Manx Telecom have made, but also the services that we provide for our customers. Now, the cloud side of things, we're very fortunate as well to have a company called Synapse in the business. They're a fantastic IT services company, and I know that from experience, having worked with and against them in the past. But very much with the guys at the moment. So we provide services both in enterprise and through Synapse, where we collaborate together and provide the best of public cloud, hybrid cloud, and private cloud.
I think an interesting point to talk about there, Scott. You mentioned about Manx Telecom Group having 2 individual data centers. Really good to talk about based on the benefits that brings to our customers.
Yeah.
Being the only telco or data center on island with dual data centers, what would that bring to our customers?
So we get that a lot. We do actually get asked a lot, and certainly when we win business, our customers say it tends to be because we've got 2 data centers on the island. It is a real benefit for our customers who want disaster recovery. They want to ensure that they've got resilience, I guess, across their platform. And by having, like I said, 2 of them, they can have instances in both data centers, all their data hosted on the Isle of Man. So whether that's a regulatory reason for an on or an off island company, or quite simply just that you want that extra peace of mind that you're not just relying on a single entity, similar to what you would do if it was on premise, let's say, for example.
So I guess what you said there is you're kind of keeping their businesses connected and the lights on, regardless of a data center going down or a failover situation.
Exactly, yeah. You just want to mention the word connectivity there. Can I just elaborate on what we do? So connectivity-wise, I mean, look, we're a telco as well, right? Yeah. So we're predominantly a telco. We're 130 years old. We've just not long sort of celebrated our 130th birthday. So from a connectivity perspective, we provide carrier Ethernet services. We have MPLS. We have dedicated internet, of course.
Yep.
So a lot of the enterprise businesses would take those types of solutions. But not just those types of solutions. We also do SD-WAN, so where we've got customers based around the world where they can access to applications and to their networks. SD-WAN works really well. It's a great fit for them. In fact, we've got one customer who's got multiple offices globally, which is fantastic. In addition to that, though, we've spent around about 50 million since 2018, get my dates right. So about 2018, we spent 50 million in rolling out a fibre across the whole of the Isle of Man, so fibre broadband, that is.
And that's supporting the government's national broadband strategy.
It absolutely does, yeah, and the critical national infrastructure as well. So, it's essential. The vision from Digital Isle is to ensure that we've got a connected island. Mm-hmm. We've got the best possible speeds. We're in the top percentage in the world, and that's what we're driving towards, and we're nearly there. We're up to sort of nearly 90% premises passed at the moment, which is fantastic. So as that copper to fibre migration happens over the coming years, the island will truly be better connected and with faster speeds, more reliable connectivity than copper that's been around longer than you and I, Dan.
Yeah, and I guess when you talk about that connectivity point, we have a lot of acronyms in our industry: SD-WAN, MPLS. I guess for the audience at home, it's about critical connectivity services, being able to provide to a small medium enterprise, home office,
yes,
your commercial enterprise up to large, multinational enterprise. So you talked about, having a base of 3,000 plus customers.
Yeah.
How do Manx Telecom Enterprise service those different businesses?
Okay. So, well, we're again very fortunate because of the scale of the company. We've got around 380 staff in the business, which makes us the largest technology company on the Isle of Man by some way, which we're very proud of. So within there we have a very a dedicated account management team for start. So that account management team looks after right across all of the various different segments. So we've got the large enterprise, which is what you would call enterprise, large enterprise customers. You've got the SME, as you've mentioned. You've got SOHO. So SOHO, for example, at the smaller end would be, single office. So it might be one user, it might be a small shop. It could be up to 10 different users that are maybe using technology in that business. So we have account managers that cover across, all those sectors.
Yep.
We've got products that are specific for those sectors, Dan. So, I haven't mentioned voice yet. We talked about fiber and how fiber can work with voice, and we can package the two together, which is great for SMEs, great for SOHO companies, because they just want low cost but effective solutions, simple to use, and something that they don't need to think too much about. It's just there, it just works, and if there is an issue, the team can pop down and support them as well.
So it sounds like you've got a great team behind you of account managers. You talk about the scale of Manx Telecom in regards to the kind of number of, let's call it, boots on the ground we've got from engineering and sales. So what it sounds like to me is there's a very wide and varying suite of products that your team have access to and can tailor to businesses of any size.
Yeah.
So all sounds very positive. So Scott, we talked about your career, what brought you to MT, and what got you to Manx Telecom Enterprise. We've talked about the kind of customer base and how you service them and some of the benefits around the products that Manx Telecom offer. What I'd like to delve a little bit deeper on is kind of the advancements you've seen in technology and how they impact the way we live and work.
Okay, so there's been a lot of advancements in the last 20 years if you go back that far. So, probably the most significant ones, I would say, in recent times anyway, would be things like unified collaboration.
Okay.
So if you think about, when we talk about unified collaboration, think about in the business world, what does that mean? So that will be things like Zoom or Microsoft Teams, for example. We use Microsoft Teams, don't we?
Yeah.
So, within MT, we use it on a day-to-day basis. And this was no more sort of prominent than through COVID. Yeah. So through, when we're all locked down and we're all sat at home, we were still able to work. And actually, it's really interesting because, in the telco world, it was always quite difficult to convince customers to purchase collaboration tools. Yeah. If I think back through the teens, if you will, in 2012 to sort of 2020, it was really difficult conversation because there was no value, they couldn't really see value in it. Or they just didn't necessarily have budget, customers. And then all of a sudden, COVID happened, and then everybody's embracing and using this as a tool. So, I think in the work side of things, that's probably one of the largest, certainly in the voice and communications perspective, that's definitely the largest advancement that I can see. And actually, if you think about it at home as well, we've got, what did it do through COVID again? It enabled people to stay in touch. I know I spoke to my parents all the time. I live here, they still live back in the northeast, and we spoke most days, and it wasn't just a voice call, on a landline, it was face to face. Now that would be through FaceTime or something else, but essentially that would be a huge advancement in technology, I would have said, of the last, certainly 5, even 10 years.
I think we, as a business, Manx Telecom always talked about keeping the island connected.
Yeah.
I think what we're seeing with the advancements of, we call it unified comms or collaboration, teams.
Yeah.
It's really about keeping people and businesses connected.
Yeah.
Enabling people to still speak to their team, even if they're remote. We're seeing a lot of people coming back to the office. We're seeing, and I'm sure you're seeing, that big drive for teams to continue and people wanting unified comms, not just a desk phone anymore.
Yeah.
It's about soft clients on mobile. So it's a continual connection that I guess your business is looking for.
Yes, absolutely. There's so many different facets to it. We've just touched on Microsoft Teams. even solutions that we've been delivering a little bit longer, but have become really critical in voice. For example, we've got a product called Intelligent Voice, which is essentially a cloud voice platform. It's hosted on the Isle of Man. Okay, so it's here, and it's based on, or it is really, Cisco BroadWorks platform, which 60% of all cloud voice platforms around the world are the Cisco BroadWorks platform.
Right.
So we have that here based on the island, and particularly our SME customer base. It's what they use, and it's so convenient. It just works, and that works from home. You literally can take a phone home, plug it into your router, and it connects you into your network. So there are lots of different ways of using the various different voice solutions, cloud solutions, of course, as well. If we talk about cloud, what else have we seen in terms of advancements? Well, I mean, cloud isn't new. It's been around a long time. Go back mainframe. You go back lots and lots of years. You can pick out lots of good stories around how clouds influence things. But more latterly, it feels like there's a major shift. Look, we all know about Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud, and AWS, and these products are taking the market by storm.
Yeah.
Or certainly have been for a few years now. But that's not the be-all and end-all. And we are seeing customers who are kind of looking for that hybrid model.
Yeah.
So they will say, look, okay, we'd like to leverage some of that scalability or flexibility in let's say, Azure, which is a fantastic platform, right? We want to use a little bit of that. But actually, we don't want to put everything in there because we want to control what we've got. Yeah. We want to be able to control our costs, so we need efficiencies. Because it's not always, it's quite expensive to put things into sort of global cloud platforms. And once it's in there, how do you get it back? Where's your data, et cetera, et cetera? So there's always that discussion. But in terms of the advancements, that's made a major change over the last, I would say, 5 years in particular. And we see it on a day-to-day basis, and I'm sure other businesses will as well. Now, that affects us on a day-to-day basis as well in our own lives. So, I mean, most people are using Netflix, was it the Disney Channel, all of these cloud platforms.
Yeah.
My kids use it all the time. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, so in a day-to-day life, talk about cloud, look at how much that's changed over the last 10 years. Going back, wasn't that long ago going back to VHS. And, was it?
I don't know.
DVD. Okay.
You might remember VHS or Betamax. Not me.
Yeah, just about. And the last one, of course, what about AI?
Yeah.
Yeah. So AI is.
I mean, that's a really hot topic at the moment, Scott. And I want to touch on AI in a second, but there's a really important thread that you talked about there around cloud and data. Now, data ownership, data stewardship, data sovereignty, a lot of buzzwords at the moment.
Yeah.
To me, with data, I think what customers need to be thinking about is, where is that data housed? How is it accessed? And is it secure? Now, earlier in the conversation, we talked about dual data centers, having your data on island. Now, you talk about Manx Telecom's cloud products. There's a real good opportunity for enterprise or corporate businesses to look at the infrastructure Manx Telecom have and kind of take ownership of their own data. Now, for kind of our listeners, it might be nice to talk about how you leverage Manx Telecom's infrastructure to be able to provide those services to customers.
A lot of customers do get a little bit of anxiety when we talk about cloud. Understandably, because they don't necessarily always know the facts. And, most people, when they talk about cloud, they think of it as global data centers. So somewhere not on the Isle of Man, let's say, for example. And look, one of the benefits we have within the group with Manx Telecom and Synapse is that we can leverage our 2 tier 3 data centers and where we have hosted cloud platforms. Those cloud platforms means that we can keep all of the customers' data here on the Isle of Man. And what the cloud platform is, if you think logically, think about on-premise hardware in the Manx Telecom data centers based on the Isle of Man. So it's not actually off-island, it's here, and all of your data's here, which means that you can control your data in terms of, where it is, exactly where it is at any one time, which is a real benefit to a lot of customers because, as I mentioned before, there is that anxiety factor of, well, it's a cloud, it must be somewhere else, or nobody knows where it is. We take that very seriously across the group, and it is definitely one of our major benefits for our clients.
So it's really about secure data sovereignty.
Yes.
I think one of the interesting points and topics you almost raised about advancements, it seems that things moving into this, I'll call it as a service. You talk about infrastructure as a service, platform as a service.
Yeah.
The intelligent voice is almost voice as a service now.
It is, indeed, absolutely. Yeah.
So we're kind of moving away from on-premise equipment.
Yes.
The need for racks in your office. It's that you, as let's call you Mr. Manx Telecom, are going to provide a secure environment for your critical infrastructure and data.
Yes. I mean, there's still customers who want to keep things on-prem, and I understand why. But majority now of customers are looking to either outsource, can we move our services out? Can we, Manx Telecom have a very large team of not just engineers, but technical experts who can actually look after things on a day-to-day basis, which enables those businesses to be able to do more important business-related things, okay? And, at the end of the day, the infrastructure piece is the area which really is very easy to, can take a lot of time to look after.
Yeah.
So it's easy to outsource, if you will. And that's where we see a lot of advantage. But yeah, look, definitely a big advancement is moving away from the office and into data centers. And like I said, making the point, the fact that the data is held here on the Isle of Man and all of the services and all of the infrastructures here on the Isle of Man, it's actually not far away from any business on the Isle of Man.
Fantastic. So we've talked about kind of the emerging trends that you've seen, or the advancements you've seen.
Yeah.
What do you see are going to be the next kind of emerging trends, technologies, or even hot topics?
Well, I think a lot of what we just talked about, to be honest, just moving to the next level. From a cloud computing perspective, for example, as I mentioned, I alluded to, businesses aren't necessarily wanting to put everything into a global data center. They want to try and keep things local as well. So that hybrid model, I think, will continue for some time. And what does that do also? That also drives the behaviors around, how we work in the office. So, remote working will always be, I think, there now.
Yeah.
There's different appetites. You mentioned about people coming back into the office. You're absolutely right. A lot of our staff are back in the office, aren't we?
Yeah.
But not every business is, and that's okay. It depends on what their business outlook is, and there's advantages to and from. So, by centrally hosting your infrastructure and your desktops, your VDI, if you will, it just enables you to work from anywhere at any time.
Yeah.
And that's critical to business operations these days, 24/7, especially where we've got a lot of businesses on the Isle of Man who they might be headquartered here, they might not, but they might have offices around the world, Australia, Japan, America, so they're always on.
Yeah.
And one of the things I didn't mention earlier as well is that, our team here on the island, we've got a service operations center, SOC. And what those guys do is they look after, maintain our network, our core network, 24/7. So they're a 24/7 operation based in our data centers. And they're not just looking after our own infrastructure, of course, they're looking after our customers, right? Because we do a lot of managed services for our enterprise customers in particular. But they're basically keeping everything going. They're keeping the lights on around the clock. And that, again, is another real strong aspect of working with Manx Telecom as a partner.
And I guess, as I said earlier, people will know Manx Telecom as a telecoms and infrastructure business.
Yes.
The themes I'm hearing in our conversation are really around critical connectivity.
Yeah.
Not just for enterprise, but for consumers, residential. You did mention earlier AI. Now, hot topic at the moment.
Yeah.
Something people are still trying to understand and trying to pull the benefit out and commercialize.
Yeah.
Where do you see AI kind of coming to the fore in telecoms?
So it's been an emerging trend for a little while now. It's very much a buzzword.
Yeah.
It's over that kind of curve now, whereby it's almost now I think businesses, they're thinking, what is it? How is that going to impact our business? And look, there's some great tangible products and services out there. We talk about chatbots in customer service, talk about automated tasks, putting things into, say, for example, telecommunication networks to give us better intelligence, to give us analytics. There's lots of really cool stuff that AI does. I don't know. We just don't know, do we? That's the thing. We just don't know where it's going to take us. And look, I think someone once told me, there's with AI, you either, the question always is, will we lose jobs?
Yeah.
Because it's going to come and it's going to take everyone's jobs over. I think the question more is, if you don't adopt AI to help you use, it in your day-to-day work, you will be left behind.
Yeah.
If you adopt it, like Microsoft Copilot, I mean, how great is that product, by the way?
Oh, fantastic.
It's brilliant. I mean, it helps you make decisions. It gives you insights. It's transformed the way that certainly sales and marketing teams work, and I'm sure other business sectors as well. That's one example I can give, but there's just so many, and you just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that Copilot point's really interesting. I remember last week we had an event at Manx Telecom headquarters with, we invited guests to talk about Copilot.
Yeah.
At the end of that session, I spoke to some of the attendees, and one of the attendees I spoke to was straight back to their office to talk about getting Copilot installed because they absolutely saw the benefits.
Yeah.
And I think it's understanding those benefits of AI. I think AI can be a scary term because it sounds new and kind of advanced. Let's look at it in the home. Alexa is Siri on your device.
Yeah.
It's an AI tool.
It is. I use it every day, don't we?
Exactly.
Have been for a while. So it's not new.
No, it's not new. It's always
Been
been
around
there.
for a long, long time.
But I think the telecom benefit around AI, and let's talk about Alexa. What does Alexa need? It needs critical connectivity.
Yes.
And, take you back to the early start of the conversation. You talked about copper to fiber.
Yeah.
The benefits that fiber are going to bring into the home.
Indeed. Yeah, look, reliable, fast speeds. Fiber is a no-brainer. I mean, you look everywhere around the world, everyone's moving to fiber broadband. BT have got their switch off, which is coming very soon. So, it will get to a stage where, there will be no copper network.
Yeah.
It has to. Everything evolves, everything changes over time, and that won't be, a million miles off. So yes, but, broadband connectivity, but we haven't talked about 5G, 6G, right? So, I remember going back a few years where we brought over a provider who gave us some demos on 5G in the car park, and we had ministers and various different guests here, and it was great to see. It's fantastic. And they brought their own little lab over, they brought a big lorry with this lab in. It's fascinating, and look, that's another future trend, right? We're looking at that now. We've actually got, we could test network, and we've been doing various things with 5G. Of course we have, been doing it for a little while. And 6G research is out there. It's going to be not far away. So it'll be interesting to see how things like that evolve over time as well. But I think, the underlying message here, right? We talk about 2 or 3 different key things, aren't we? We're talking about connectivity. Now that could be fiber, and it could be ubiquitous connectivity. So, for example, bringing in mobile connectivity as well, like 4G, 5G, 6G, and how they can work together and provide us with, and this can get really far-fetched, flying cars, right? Which has been talked about for a little while.
It has, yeah.
But you need that very, very high speed and low latency to enable that kind of technology to work. That won't work on today's technology unless you heavily, heavily invest in that kind of infrastructure. So watch this space for sort of 5G and 6G. And the other things, of course, we talked about clouds and voice as well. Voice isn't going to go away.
No.
Traditional, what we call direct exchange lines, copper phone line into your house or into your business, has been replaced by fiber.
Yeah.
Okay. But that video call, that Microsoft Teams, the Zoom calls, all those kind of ways of communicating and collaborating with each other is as appropriate for consumers as it is for business as well.
Fantastic. Well, sounds like exciting times ahead at Manx Telecom and Manx Telecom Corporate and Enterprise. Thanks for your insights today. It's been really, really informative. And I'll wait to see you get that flying car purchase. Thanks, Scott.
Very welcome. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for joining us at Connected Insights. To learn more about Manx Telecom and Manx Telecom Enterprise, give them a follow on LinkedIn or visit manxtelecom.com/business.